The image on your screen right now isn't a photograph. It's the final frame of a security camera feed from a research facility that vanished overnight. 17 scientists were inside, studying a sound recorded from a place humans were never meant to hear. The air in the control room grew thick with the smell of ozone and something sweetly rotten, like forgotten fruit. Then, the primary audio channel captured it. Not a voice, but a wet, rhythmic scratching from inside the walls. Dr. Aris's log describes the sensation not as cold, but as a sudden, total numbness spreading from the chest outward, as if the body itself was trying to forget it existed. The feed cuts 4.7 seconds later, but not before every screen, in every room, displays this single, staring eye. And the most terrifying part? This isn't the original recording. Someone, or something, edited this footage and sent it directly to you. I need you to check something for me. Open a new tab. Search for Fallcreek, Ohio, population. Go on, I'll wait. What did you find? A Wikipedia entry? A county listing, perhaps? Maybe 247 souls. The official records are sterile, neat. Now try searching. Fallcreek, Ohio, MISing. Search. Fallcreek vanishing. Search. The census town. You'll find nothing. No news reports. No conspiracy forums. Not even a blurry photograph. Because Fallcreek isn't lost. It was never there to begin with. It conceals itself. Only when someone attempts to count. The last man who dared, let me recount what he witnessed. A metallic scent, like ozone and old iron, clung to the air as a faint scratching echoed from the walls. His breath hitched, the oppressive dampness seeping into his bones as a whisper, too low to decipher, brushed past his ear. Paralyzed by the unknown, he felt the sticky residue of something unspeakable on his fingertips. A main street with a diner, a library, and a park. It resembled a stock photo, but the colors were unnaturally saturated, creating a hyper-realistic facade. This is the file of Leo Mercer, a dedicated yet slightly cynical census worker from Columbus. The air carried a faint metallic scent, like ozone after a storm, though the sky was clear. A quiet dread settled in his chest as he scanned the too-perfect scene before him. In the damp spring of 2020, Leo was dispatched for routine follow-ups in rural Knox County. A cluster of non-responsive addresses awaited him in a forgotten place called Fallcreek. Procedure was standard. He packed his tablet, official badge, and a thermos of bitter coffee. The sedan's engine hummed as he left the known world behind, entering the hollows. From the car window, Leo watched as green fields gave way to an unexpected, dense fog settling in the valley below. This thick, milky blanket wasn't on any forecast. It clung unnaturally to the road leading into Fallcreek. Then came the second oddity. The sudden, complete silence on his GPS. The air grew heavy with ozone, and a primal dread took hold as the fog swallowed the world outside. The screen flickered as he stepped onto the small stone bridge, and the town's name simply vanished. The map now showed only an empty, unnatural green void where the settlement should have been. A metallic scent of ozone hung in the air, and the stones beneath his feet felt unnaturally cold. Leo's voice, recorded on his phone, broke the stillness. Log. 10:17 a.m. Bridge on County Road 6 seems to be the marker. Leo's phone screen went dead as he passed the sign. The last bar of service, vanishing. Guess I'm going analog, he muttered to the empty car, the words swallowed by the sudden quiet. Fallcreek unfolded before him, a postcard of small-town charm. Neat houses with white picket fences lined the streets, and the autumn sun cast long, warm shadows. People on porches and sidewalks paused their activities to wave as his car rolled by. Their smiles were wide, their gestures friendly, but their eyes followed him with a fixed, unnerving stillness. The welcome felt less like hospitality, and more like a collective, silent observation. A faint metallic scent, like old pennies, drifted in through his cracked window, tainting the idyllic scene. An elderly man tended his roses with mechanical precision, while a woman carried groceries in a fluid, practiced motion. Their gestures were too rehearsed, their smiles never reaching their hollow eyes. A sweet, cloying scent of roses hung in the still air, mingling with the faint, metallic tang of ozone. Leo had found a town preserved in a pleasant, endless afternoon, a diorama of perfect, soulless calm. The air carried the scent of cut grass and apple pie, yet beneath it lingered a faint metallic tang, like ozone after a storm. Leo found Mayor John Harlow waiting outside, a man whose handshake was unnervingly firm, his smile stretched too wide. The mayor's voice was friendly yet hollow, devoid of true warmth. He uttered the words with rehearsed precision. "Leo, we've been expecting you." John apologized for the paperwork mishap, his tone guarded. "We're a private bunch," he explained. "We value our solitude." He then introduced his wife, Sarah, who managed the diner, and his brother, Mike, the town's handyman. Each of them was polite, even helpful, but their eyes held a strange, measured distance. The air in the room felt thick, carrying the faint, metallic scent of old coffee and something else, something stale, like dust left undisturbed for years. The documents were too perfect. Birth certificates, utility bills, every name matching his list. But the people behind them moved with rehearsed precision, like actors performing a long-running play. Leo later wrote in his notes, "It's like they're reading from a script they've performed for a very, very long time." In the diner's stale air, that realization settled over him. A heavy, creeping dread that something was profoundly wrong. Sarah poured the coffee, her hand betraying a subtle tremor. The liquid was dark, thick, almost oily. Through the window, Leo watched the same cluster of children pass by in perfect, silent order. Then, they appeared again. The same faces, the same formation, repeating the loop. His professional skepticism dissolved, replaced by a heavy, primal dread that settled in his gut. Every 37 minutes, the same crimson pickup truck rolled past, its engine a low, metallic growl that faded into the suffocating quiet. In the barbershop window, a silent pantomime repeated without end. The same barber snipping the same man's hair, their movements stiff and rehearsed, the scent of talcum powder and old leather hanging in the stagnant air. The library was a monument to repetition, its towering shelves holding only 3 titles, their spines duplicated into infinity, the smell of aged paper and dust so thick it coated the tongue. And the light, it remained fixed. A perpetual, oppressive twilight that leached the world of color and shadow, leaving only the cold, damp touch of a reality stuck on loop. The sun remained frozen at 3:17 p.m., casting long, identical shadows across the landscape. A metallic scent, like ozone, hung in the motionless air. Leo's voice, a tense whisper into his phone, broke the unnatural quiet. Log, 4:32 p.m., or what feels like it. There are no clocks. No birds sang. When I asked Mike about the weather, he replied, "It's always a beautiful day in Fallcreek," then fixed me with a vacant stare until I broke eye contact. That night, I checked into the Fallcreek B&B. The room was a suffocating assault of florals. A faint, sweet scent of decay lingered in the air, like forgotten flowers in a vase. Outside the window, the absolute quiet felt less like peace and more like a held breath. On the dresser sat a family photograph. Mayor John, Sarah, Mike, and others, all wearing 1940s clothing, yet their faces were identical to those in town today. The air grew heavy with the scent of old paper and ozone as Leo stared at the impossible image. That's when he made his first real mistake. He asked about the census, not the current one, but the previous. The temperature plunged sharply in the already frigid room. Sarah's porcelain smile remained frozen, utterly unmoving. Her voice emerged like cracking ice, sharp and brittle. "Why, Leo," she whispered, the words hanging in the suddenly heavy air. The family insisted they'd mailed their 2010 census form like always. No census taker ever came to their door. But Leo's search of the national database told a different story. A worker named Arthur Finch was officially assigned to Fallcreek that year. The contradiction hung in the air, thick as the damp chills seeping through the window. One story was a lie, and someone had gone to great lengths to bury the truth. Leo never filed a report. The official record listed him as voluntary resignation. Now, with only his flashlight as witness, he sneaks into the town hall basement after midnight. The air hangs thick with the scent of aged paper and something faintly metallic. His breath catches as the beam finally settles on the rows of weathered ledgers, the town's hidden history. Leo's breath hitched as his finger traced the same elegant script across centuries. Each decade, from 1840 to 2010, contained identical names in that same unnervingly consistent hand. And at the bottom of every page, the census taker's own name was always followed by that single, elegantly inked word, assimilated. A primal dread took hold as Leo whispered, his voice hollow with realization. It's not a town. It's a record. This was a living record. Not a refuge from the count, but a collection of the counter itself. At dawn, Leo sprinted back to the B&B, the sky still trapped in that eerie, unchanging 3:17 p.m. glow. The air inside smelled of stale wood and ozone as he frantically stuffed his bag, his hands trembling. Primal dread took hold, the quiet broken only by the frantic rustle of fabric and his own ragged breath. Through the grimy windowpane, the entire town stood motionless in the street below. Not a single person moved or spoke, their faces upturned and fixed upon his position. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like cold iron. A primal dread took hold as he realized every eye was locked on his window. Their faces were blank, placid masks of eerie uniformity. He threw his bag into the car, the engine's roar cutting through the unnatural quiet. He sped down Main Street, the air thick with the scent of ozone and damp earth. The townspeople didn't flinch, but turned their heads in perfect unison, tracking him with mechanical precision. As Leo reached the stone bridge marking the town limit, the engine sputtered and died with a final metallic groan. He stepped out into air thick with the smell of damp earth and ozone. The fog had returned, denser now, swallowing the road behind him in a white void. From that consuming mist, 3 figures materialized. Mayor John, Sarah, and Mike, walking forward in unnerving unison. Their pleasant masks dissolved, their features smearing as if multiple faces were fighting for the same space. A thick, metallic scent filled the air as Mayor Harlow spoke, his voice now layered and echoing unnaturally. "You can't file a report, Leo." The words carried a damp, clinging weight. "You'd have to leave to do that, and you belong to Fallcreek now. They need our vitality, our connection to the outside world. It's how they maintain their plausibility." Narrator. Leo didn't run back toward town. He fled into the dense woods lining the road. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth, and something metallic, like old pennies. Every snap of a twig underfoot sounded like a gunshot in the oppressive stillness. The trees grew thin and papery, like flimsy stage props. He burst into a clearing and froze, every muscle locking. The air here was still, and carried a faint, metallic scent. In the dead space stood dozens, perhaps hundreds, of people. The figures were semi-transparent, flickering like a television with bad reception. Their clothing was a mismatched timeline. A 1950s dress, a 1970s suit, a 1990s windbreaker. Among them, Leo locked eyes with a man in a 2010 Census vest, Arthur Finch. Their hollow eyes and silently screaming mouths filled the air with a palpable, freezing dread. They are the ghosts of every census taker, every outsider, who ever tried to number Fallcreek. Leo screamed, his voice raw. "What are you?" Sarah's voice, sweet and terrible, seemed to emanate from the fog itself. "We are the uncounted, the forgotten, the place that slips between the numbers. And you, Leo Mercer, are our next zero." The fog thickened, damp and smelling of old paper and cold earth, and began to consume him. The transparent figures closed in, their cold, damp forms reaching for him. The final shot held on Leo's face. His scream was silenced. His image began to static and duplicate like corrupted data. We cut back to the present, where the single light bulb flickers erratically. On the desk below it lies Leo's official tablet, its screen dark and silent. A fine gray dust coated everything. The cracked screen glowed faintly, displaying Leo Mercer's final, unsent report. Instead of a population count, the field for Fallcreek, Ohio contained a single phrase, repeated over and over in a frantic digital scrawl. "Do not count them. Do not count them. Do not count them." The air smelled of ozone and something metallic. Mercer was later listed as no contact, then voluntary resignation. His vehicle was discovered abandoned 50 miles away, near a different town entirely. Case closed. The data is fresh, updated just yesterday. But here's the final, terrifying question that's kept me awake. The census isn't every 10 years anymore. There are always surveys, always data collection, always someone knocking on a door somewhere with a clipboard and a question. The screen flickered. For one impossible frame, the map declared Fallcreek's population 0. Then, it corrected to 1,247, as if nothing had happened. But what if the hunger isn't cyclical? What if it's adaptive, learning, reaching out through the very signals that connect us? Our Wi-Fi, our networks, our always online world. Perhaps they no longer simply evade the census. The screen fractures once more, and for a flickering instant, your own username bleeds across the town's layout. Maybe they conceal themselves within the data itself, a cold, silent presence woven into the numbers. And maybe you have just been tallied.